It's a boy! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and tonight I am coming at you to talk to you about A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Yes, we are continuing the Nightmare on Elm Street Revisited series, and we have made it to The Dream Child. Now, why did we make it to The Dream Child next? Well, because I was compelled to watch it last night. I guess that's the easiest answer. It's one that stands out like a sore thumb in this franchise, for better or worse. And there are many reasons for that. So last night I was compelled to watch it, and I was like, you know what? I want to kind of dip my toes back in the pool here because I had not seen this movie in years. I was sitting there texting Christian, asking questions because there were things I didn't remember about the movie and whatnot. So it had been a while, and it was nice to get back into it. So the Dream Child's plot, basically, it follows Alice and Dan and a group of friends, and basically Freddy is reborn in a way through Alice's child in her womb that was obviously created by her and Dan in a very Skinamax opening scene where you don't see anything, but everything kind of looks like a butt. And this child is being used as a conduit basically by Freddy to attack Alice's friends, and it's getting the souls that Freddy is taking from these people he kills and feeding to the child to make the child like him. Well, meanwhile, Alice is trying to figure out how to stop him, and she keeps having these visions and these dreams of Amanda Krueger, and Amanda basically saying, set me free from my earthly prison, to be able to stop this guy. So they have to find the remains of Amanda Krueger. They have to set her free to where she can, I guess, get Freddy and keep him at bay in her womb. And that's really the plot of this movie. In a nutshell, I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of ideas here. And first and foremost, let's get right into the pros of this movie. Lisa Wilcox. I love Lisa Wilcox in this movie. Her first, two scenes, I was like, are you overacting a little bit? And then I really started to come around to her and go, okay, I really like Lisa Wilcox in this movie. I think she does a great job. It's really nice to have her be the lead. I think that although there are some pitfalls with the script and the storyboarding, I think overall she does well with what she's given. She could have been given better, but she does well with that. I like a few of the friends. I mean, everybody likes Dan. He's just a nice guy that means well, or at least you think. I like Mark. I think Mark's kind of goofy. You don't really get to know much of Yvonne or Greta, so they're not, I don't know. You have this crisis with Greta and her mom and expectations of what she's supposed to look like and what she's supposed to put into her body and stuff like that. But there's not enough there to really care about either character deeply. But I think overall, it's not a bad cast of kids. But, Lisa really stands out. I like Dan and I like Mark. Baby Freddy. Okay, Baby Freddy's awesome. That beautiful little bastard, ugly bastard, whatever you want to call it. I think that the effects work with Baby Freddy, and really a lot of the effects work in this movie. So I guess this would just lead into my next pro. The makeup effects. I think that a lot of the budget probably went to this because I think they're really solid all throughout. And I really think that these horrible things we're supposed to be seeing and experiencing, they really stand out. I think with lesser makeup effects, it really would have made this movie damn near unwatchable. I mean, the makeup effects, I think, are top notch in this movie. So I've got to give it up for Baby Freddy and just the makeup effects as a whole. The kills. Now, I will say, this is frustrating because at times you're really reminded that this is like the lowest body count, I think, in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And it does take some time to get there. But when you get some of these kills, they're awesome. First of all, the whole sequence with Dan, him turning into like a part of the motorcycle, it's awesome. I love I know the uncut version shows, I believe, his leg getting stabbed. And maybe a little bit more of extended gore in that. And I haven't seen the uncut version. I know a lot of you have, so I definitely want to check that out. But I love those effects. I love that death scene. I think it's awesome. I love Greta's, even though it is hacked to shit by the MPAA. I love it because what it also is just like on a metaphorical level about her caring about what she puts in her body and her appearance and basically saying, you know what, screw you to her mom. Freddy is feeding her her own innards. And I love the like corny over the top like face they have for her, the makeup job there. It's kind of shocking. It's just so out there that it sticks with you. I really do enjoy that. I think that a lot, and I really like Mark's death scene in the sense of, yeah, Super Freddy's kind of bad, but I really do enjoy him turning into paper and the color draining out of him and puddling on the floor and then getting ripped to shreds by Freddy. I thought that was really cool. Again, all three of those death scenes I just mentioned to you were heavily neutered by the MPAA, but I've got to give it up for the kills that are in this movie. Although there are few, I think they're really, really strong. The gothic imagery and atmosphere you get at some points throughout this movie, I think are really strong, and I really enjoy them. My problem is they didn't lean enough into that, but I will list this as a positive because when it does show up, whether it's the institution stuff, whether it's just some of the lighting choices and color choices, color palettes that they use, I think they're really strong. And I think it makes this movie stand out, at least tonally and visually, from some of the other Nightmare movies. So I really do enjoy it. It's akin to Nightmare 2, I would say, in the sense of its visual flair really stands out. So I really like some of that gothic noir feel to this movie and look to this movie. And my final positive off the top of my head is the character arc with Alice's dad. I really, really do enjoy that they made him recover from his alcoholism. He was a bum. He was, there's this dropped line about how she doesn't think her dad was there at the graduation, and he was just in the background because he didn't think, oh, well, you didn't want to be burdened by having your drunk of a dad here. And it really it sets the tone for the relationship they're going to have throughout this movie. And it's a really nice redemptive arc that I even wrote down in my notes when I was, rewatching this, because I'm like, you don't really see redemptive arcs like that, just like personal redemptive arcs in slasher movies in the 80s. So I really thought that was cool. And he was a very likable character. So I liked that a lot. But we've got to get into the cons, and there are quite a few. Overall, I do think that this movie is pretty subpar. I really do. And I don't want to be too hard on it because I do think it's better than Freddy's Dead. But you can clearly tell that the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was quickly overstaying its welcome, at least with the ideas and execution that they were going with at the time. I've got to say the idea for this movie is really interesting and cool and unique. It really is. Unfortunately, the execution is pretty poor, just really across the board, whether it's the script, whether it's just coherence. The story isn't very coherent at times. The pacing is off many times. Like there's just a lot of points throughout this movie where it kind of lulls you to sleep at times. And I just feel like a lot of these really cool ideas weren't fully realized, whether it be budget reasons, whether it be writing reasons. So it's got to be a con that, when it comes to, I guess, just the overall execution of the film. I just think that it's weak in that sense. And I know that this director, I don't know, he's got a lot of movies that I can think of off the top of my head that he's done. I'd say a number of movies that I think are pretty subpar. So it doesn't surprise me to know that he was the one that directed this. Jacob, man, I could have really, really done without the kid. I get it. I get it's supposed to be like, oh, this is basically her kid that she's talking to through dreams, essentially. And it's not terrible at first. It gets really bad toward the end, especially at the very end when he's got the Freddy makeup. And he's like, come on, show me. And it's just like, what? It's not good. It's not good. I don't like that at all. The ending, the ending as a whole, I guess I would put into the cons because it's so anticlimactic in the sense that Freddy's not dead. I mean, he never is, but it's especially in this movie, he's not dead. Like Amanda just put him back in her cooch. Like, I don't know how else we're supposed to take that, but yeah, I guess that's what happened. And it's really anticlimactic and odd and just, I don't know. It's just not a fitting, fun finale. So that's going to be a con as well. I think that this movie being neutered by the MPAA is also a con. And that's not to the detriment of this movie. It's not this movie's fault. But if there's certain things they're going to cut out of this movie and you're not going to be able to get the full grotesque effects, and I just feel like then you shouldn't be making this type of movie. So this one isn't really the movie's fault. It's the MPAA's fault for absolutely annihilating this movie, because I mean, there was more I wanted to see. There was more gore. There was more intensity, more grotesqueness that I needed to see, especially the Greta scene. I needed more of that, and I didn't get it. So MPAA, as always, fuck you. I mean, seriously, I hate you. Overall, I feel like the score is lacking too. I feel like that's another con. And this movie has a great soundtrack, and it's like not even present throughout this movie. Like, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. You can hear it for like 2 seconds, maybe, very lowly in the background at the pool party scene. Maybe 2 seconds. I mean, it's like, I'm exaggerating, but such a good soundtrack. Look up Dream Child soundtrack. I implore you to look it up. Look at those songs and then tell me where they are in this movie. Because there's just no, and then the ending, like, that's like I can't even remember, Kumodine or whatever his name is, Let's Go. And it's like a diss track to LL Cool J in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I mean, just come on. Like, they really dropped the ball with it. So the score and the soundtrack, the score just being hardly existent and not ratcheting up the suspense, and the soundtrack being great but not being present in the movie, it's just bad all around. It's just freaking bad, and it's a missed opportunity. Overall, my thoughts on this movie are, is it watchable? Yeah, it's watchable. But it is just not very good. I mean, it really, really isn't. And I cannot stress enough how many great ideas they did have. You know, I love the Dan being against drinking and he dies driving to Alice. And the question is, was he drinking? That's poignant discussion. The discussion with Alice about having an abortion and whatnot, poignant discussion. Greta and her figure, poignant discussion. They just don't lean into it enough. And whether it's because it was trimmed down, I don't know what it is, but these are great thematic ideas and they just don't flesh them out. So I guess my overall thoughts on this movie at the end of the day is there's so much here. There was so much potential. They just didn't have the right writers, the right director, the right anything. I mean, it just, aside from, you know, most of the acting being pretty good, the kills being good, the makeup effects being good, I just couldn't nail anything else. So, and, you know, Christian and I have talked about the year of 1989 and how it was such a weird year with Jason Takes Manhattan, Dream Child, and Halloween 5. You know, these three movies in the big three franchises that a lot of people would say, oh, this was really when it started to go downhill. Which is funny because I would argue that none of those three movies are the worst in their respective franchises. That's just what I would say personally. But, yeah, I mean, it was a weird year, but I think this movie, like Halloween 5, although Halloween 5, I just think is just more fun. This movie has some really great ideas and really great imagery, but it just doesn't lean into it enough. And I feel like that is that's the biggest cardinal sin of this movie, and that's what I knock it for the most. So overall, if I was going to give a rating to A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, I'm going to give The Dream Child 2 out of 5 stars. It is watchable. I don't highly, or maybe not even recommended overall. Slightly not recommend this movie. Maybe I'll just be ambivalent and say I'm in the middle. If you want to watch it, cool. If you don't want to watch it, cool. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's not even the worst Nightmare movie. There's a lot of good stuff here, but unfortunately, it was just a hack job at the end of the day that wasn't fully realized. So that's going to be it for my revisiting of A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. What do you guys think of A Nightmare on Elm Street 5? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Am I right or am I wrong? Tell me why, and tell me if so down below in the comments section. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share me with your friends. Check me out on social media at The Lost River Drive-In on Instagram and at The Lost River DR1 on Twitter. And make sure to check me out on Patreon. It is the best way to support me and to support this channel. I really appreciate all of you patrons. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Nick at The Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.